Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
Hello and welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. I'm Glenn Brooks. It's wonderful being with you today. I want to get into a topic that I think that you're gonna love: heroic storytelling and telling stories in a way that transforms you in relationship, changes your brain. I'm going to cover some myths, and also on the road to Carnegie Hall. On the road to Carnegie Hall, I'm going to get into that. I want to warmly welcome Jenna Carafa, Lisa LaRose, Cherie Marquez, Dr. Randall. I'm not sure if she's there. So I want to welcome you deeply. Heroic storytelling.
Aloha.
Aloha. I want to acknowledge right now that in terms of our road to Carnegie Hall, our vibrant speaking and our pre-education, our pre-trainings, Jenna Croft is going to write the article for the November issue of OMTimes magazine. So you'll be able to read what all that is about. We'll have dates and location for the pre-training. For those of you that really want to harness your courageous, heroic stories and be around the company of the team or the dojo, of being able to speak and express another whole level of your message from your cells, your being, that level that sometimes we walk into, we're not sure what it is. It's sort of like no one really ever probably sat you down or you've been around regular heroic stories. I want to say one of the heroic stories I'm living right now that I'm going to be able to share with you is someone and I had a miraculous meeting. Well, first of all, Lisa, say hello. I want to hear your voice. Welcome. I want to slow down and recognize each voice. Every time we recognize someone, it changes the whole atmosphere. So, Lisa, welcome.
Oh,
Executive producer.
I appreciate that very much. And it's always nice to be warmly welcomed into any room, whether it be with a smile, and I feel a warm hug from you all the miles away. It's like we're in the same room. So thank you.
Wonderful. You're very welcome. Cherie.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, everybody, and so very grateful to be here on this amazing journey.
I'm very happy you're here. Very happy, and I just, right before I came, I met this amazing husky, Siberian husky, and I met the owner, and I was so moved by the husky. I said, you gotta, and she actually shops at Dave's Pet City, who we're going to meet in a little bit. So let's see. Do we have Dr. Randall? I guess not. By the way, so I'm very inspired about this article that will be in OMTimes magazine. Jen and I are going to be working with a group of people, playing with a group of people, innovating with a group of people who want to tell their heroic story, their courageous story on the stage at Carnegie Hall. And so just quickly, my first speaker that I ever heard spoke at Carnegie Hall on a regular basis. His name was Eric Butterworth. Eric had the most amazing presence and voice. Him and his wife Olga. I think Eric was talking actually till 100 years, and I just loved his inquiry, loved his smoothness, but it really really moved me into the whole energy of Carnegie Hall. I had the honor of performing with Jana Karoff, who's a world-class mime and yoga teacher, and she'll be right with me in this wonderful dojo, this environment where you could really develop and find out what pulsates. So the thing I was going to share real quick was I had a miraculous meeting several years ago. I was in a transitionary stage, and this is my heroic story today, and I'm sharing it because I like it to inspire you and give you a different take. So there's 5 biggies in life that I always go into. So the biggies are divorce. That's a big thing for people, divorce. Their conclusions about it, their thoughts about it. What's kind of interesting about it is most people's beliefs about it are incorrect and not based on the latest science. They're not based on the reality of how to really open a relationship and how to actually have deep love no matter what circumstances happen. Because your relationships are not really circumstance bound. They're really bound by the context or how you hold the relationship. So John Goddard, who's someone I admire, he's a relational scientist. So it's a 7-to-3 ratio. It means that you show affection and caring and hold the relationship out of that context. And people think, if you ask most people, they'll say, well, it's the content, it's the money, it's the sex, it's those things, but that's not accurate. It's the context, how we hold things. So as I speak to you, I'm working on a film called The Announcement, and there's a character in this film that I met about 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And I want to tell you the story because I think you're going to love it because it's a beautiful story, and I actually want to let him tell it. So this gentleman called me up to ask beautiful, beautiful. Welcome, Dr. Randall.
Thank you.
Your voice is welcomed.
Thank you.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. I'm talking about heroic storytelling, and I live a heroic story with you.
All right.
So, there's 2 things. Okay, let me just get back. I'm just telling the story of how I met this gentleman about 5 years ago. And basically, he hired me within an hour. And I had no clients and nothing. I was at a place in my life that many of you might go through. I was in a transitionary place in my life. But I knew that I could assist him in a way that was profound. So within 2 days after I told him I could assist him, he told me he had to contact his clairvoyant friend, his clairvoyant girl. So we speak. He owns a company. It's a company he has to do with skincare products. And within 30 seconds of me speaking to him, I said, let's do a series that will last a year on the truth about vitamin D. Does the skin really cause cancer? Does it really cause cancer? Let's ask people who would actually know that, and let's cut through all the headlines about what's really true about our health. And by the way, do we get burned from the outside by the sun? Or can we actually take things on the inside, powerful antioxidants that stop burning? Right? So he asked these questions, and he called me back, and I'm so excited to introduce him to you. It looks like this is probably going to happen. So basically, he hired me for $47,000, and I want you guys to get this part. There was never a contract involved. We never signed anything. This was all from doing business at the speed of trust. We became very powerfully connected, and I helped him write a book. The book I don't want to tell you the book I have on the air. The thing the point of the story is we lost touch for 2 years, and now he's in my life again. And so what's heroic about it is that I never gave up the vision of us actually coming together again in a new, beautiful way. And that's a relational principle, is that it takes one person to transform a relationship, not 2. So no matter what you believed or thought about, all your friends told you, all your family members and all your therapists and healers, it takes one person, not 2. Something to just consider, because to open a relationship up, you need to drop the conclusions and assumptions about it. And I know there's a lot of things out that say that that's different. I'm going to go to Janet. Janet, you're going to write this article. You're going to be teaching. We're going to be teaching together, and I'm kind of wildly enthusiastic about it because the story of Carnegie Hall is really people's story of the vision of being on a stage that represents their deepest mission and wonder, and also it represents being on a team of other people that get to practice together and bring out this message and be on a stage that's renowned and recognized for its artfulness, its huge impact on the quality of people's life, their ability to experience art, their ability to experience just the wonder and beauty of life. I just wanted you to comment because I'm so honored to work with you, and I love our journey of discovering stuff. Our last meeting was very profound for me, Janet. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so happy that we're teaching together and that you're there and that our familyness is deepening.
Yes. Well, you see the brilliance in every person, and what Glenn Brooks here does with people in his coaching is bring the light and the joy and the expression and the brilliance out of each person. He sees it, and so that in doing that, as a speaker, as for an expression to express your mission, to have him there to get you in touch, to express yourself, to really actually connect with what it is you want to express will be part of it. And then the part that I can really have been working on for so many years with the mime as a performer in silence, as a storyteller with my body, is the energetic expression with the audience that changes people, so that once you are expressing yourself, something changes. People connect. The energy flow is from the heart. It's not just words being thrown, whether if you're speaking, even if you're standing still, it's expression. What we're going to do is make change the world with your expression. So everyone stand in their light, in their power, on this world stage, and step to it, because it's time. Because the expressions of love and peace and connection, it is time for this, folks. And so that's my mission, is to come and work with everybody and to really bring the message that can change people. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. By the way, I want to welcome Vishen to our show today. Vishen, who's the founder of Mind Valley. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking that a big part of vibrant speaking is actually vibrant listening. So as you listen to Janet, notice how you feel in your body. And, one of the greatest gifts we give to people is actually listening to their vibrant story, not just listening for the information. So a lot on vibrant speaking is we listen for the pulse. We listen for the heroic quality of the person, right? And we have them actually we do something on Saturday night called Saturday Night Live. So Saturday Night Live at Vibrant Speaking, our 3-day program, is where people play out sometimes their fears and their concerns. Like if you really spoke your message, and I'm going to tell you something today that's going to surprise you. This is the biggest thing. When I tell people they need to give up this one thing, it absolutely flips them out. And also when they do, it's been the greatest gift in life. I'm going to tell you what that is in a moment. So on Saturday night, Saturday Night Live, we play with all the what's holding you back from this expression? And it's a real group thing. Really, we get down and we really ask each other to let this expression. And what you notice during these heroic moments is that a lot of people, someone told them if they ever spoke that way again or this happened again, I'm letting you guys know right now, if you want to be a speaker, a vibrant speaker, you're going to get a lot of pushback. But you know what? It's an enlivening thing. an enlivening, beautiful thing, because when people give you pushback and they get alive, it's like, that's what it's got this beautiful quality of challenge. I can tell you, I work with Janet Supka, the president of the Holistic Dental Association, and she said to me point blank, she says, Glenn, I'm not going to do any radio, and I'm never going to step on a stage. I don't do that stuff. And I said, I get that. I said, of course you don't. It's threatening. It's invasive, right? That's how you experience it. And she said, yes. And I said, and let's explore it the same way that I did with Laura London. I said, let's explore it. Laura's story was Laura had a brother. I forgot that condition where you lose blood very quickly. He was what's that? What's the condition where you lose blood very quick? Dr. Randall?
Well, there's so many.
I guess it was one. It was one condition where I guess she'd always concern him. She'd move quickly, or she'd bump into her brother, and he could get an injury and die. That was her big fear. So
hemophilia?
He was a hemophiliac. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, the thing is that to be in an environment where people are really committed and coming from their courageous stories and they go past goal setting. So the first day, you pick a partner, and we have the whole group, and we really get into claiming. So claiming, and I'm talking, Deshaun knows about this because on Vine Valley they're talking about the disaster of goal setting. So why is goal setting a disaster, and what do we do differently? So what we do differently is we have claiming. And claiming is all about when you start to move and breathe and really acclimate into a group. It takes a group. It depends on the group. It usually takes people half day to a full day to start to get a sense that they could trust each other. And so I've taught seminars now, and when I go there, I can see people are sort of looking out the corner of their eyes and not really trusting, because we've been all taught to compete. And what Vibrant Speaking is about is to go beyond competing, go beyond the competitive plane. And so when people let go of that, they begin to breathe differently, and the whole environment of the room changes. So when you start to actually come from claiming, owning the thing, you're coming from a different place than the linear task of goal setting, which is a lot in reaction to other people, what people told you. So Janet, are you curious the one thing that when people give it up, it transforms their whole ability to speak and express?
I am.
And actually,
I can't wait to hear. What is it?
Well, well, this is the funny thing. The funny thing about this topic is, and I've spent days in rooms exploring. Thank you for your wonderful enthusiasm. Well, it's actually okay. I'm going to give you the benefits before I say the word, because as soon as I say the word, it's so loaded. Certain words are just loaded. So what I say to people is, when you give this up, you're going to be able to really contribute to people's life. You're going to really be able to express bravery. You're going to be able to really be compassionate. You're going to be able to really be kind in a way you've never been before. It's being nice. You got to give up being nice. And when people say it to me, when I say it to people, it rocks them. And so I 6 months I worked with this one woman. She was teaching a course because I help people design seminars. And she said to me, these two women weren't nice to her. And it was a big deal for her. So I actually, for her to really be able to be in rooms, you got to give up the notion that anybody's going to, be nice to you. So the thing about niceness is it's actually a fake state. It's not a real state. It's something that we learn from other people. It's not real. So what I say to people is, when you're doing something that's not real, you're not going to be able to have the kind of powerful, wonderful impact. And I could give endless stories of people that I know personally in my life for the last 40 years who weren't nice, but they were kind to me in a way and showed up. So Janet, what's from your experience as a mime and impacting people at the silent level, as I say this, how does it ring to you? How does it speak to you as a professional performer and someone who owns the stage? How does what I'm saying ring to you?
Well, it rings because you have to step into vulnerability, which is allowing what in order to not be in that, I'm going to be nice, I'm going to say the right thing because I'm going to get a review here and this and that. You have to just not worry about that, even though part of you will, and that's okay. And step into a different place where what is happening is you're connected with the energy of the earth. You're connected with your heartbeat. It's a whole different location. So you're not even then concerned with what people are thinking, because you're actually touching, and in a sense, I don't like the word channeling, but you're open, you're to what the universe in the spontaneous moment is. And so they're two completely different things. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's so that if you go into the one and you're concerned and you're in the kind of relational of, well, what they think is what I'll do, and those things, it's not to totally erase that. Those are good, healthy. It's a healthy thing to have, but you can't just be in that. So you're seeing the difference of when you're in your relational mind and heart and when you can step out of it. So we are going to step in and out. There are ways to see so that the awareness is there. And then, because everybody falls in and out of both, so we want to develop the place where we are jumping off the cliff, in a sense, that we're in the moment without having planned it, but we're so connected that the path is unfolding, that the universe is actually leading. You know what I mean? So that's what happens.
All right. So I want to welcome Janet Vichen to our conversation from Mind Valley, the founder of Mind Valley. This is part 2. I want to welcome. I love the work they do at Mind Valley. And so what happens when you give up being nice? Well, you have a lot more energy. You get to be pleasant. You get to not feel the pressure that you have to be nice. God knows when you don't have to be nice, you could be incredibly real. You could experience intimacy. And so, Vichen, and I'm going to let all the panel respond. So, Vichen, I want you to share a couple of relational reality bends as we listen to Janet. So this happened, and what I say to people at Vibrant Speaking is, this is something that you practice when you walk into a store, when you're in life, you practice receiving, because most people, there's scarcity and fear is in their bodies, and it's in their receptivity. And they have a whole bunch of stories where they've been hurt before. So imagine, though, when you walk out in life, you're a divine distributor, and other people divine, and you have this receptivity. So the other day, Vichen and my Vibrant Team panel, I went into a dollar store to get this little attachment I needed for my phone to charge it, because I needed to get something on my phone. And so I walked by this woman, and I wanted, guys, the first thing I want to teach you is, and it's in my book, Unscripted Power, don't live your life from bestranging. Most people live from bestranging. Imagine beloving, and imagine the idea that knowing gets in the way. I teach this in Vibrant Matchmaking. Knowing gets in the way. Don't try to get to know someone. It gets in the way. Don't try to get to know them. You recognize them. So I walk by this woman, Vichen, and beloved panel. I walk by this woman. In 2 seconds, I recognize her without saying a word. And I show her my phone. I say, do you have a what do you call it? Something that I can plug this in and charge my phone. And she barely says a word. She goes, yes, and hands me a car key. She goes, it's the new Toyota. I forgot the name of the car. It's in the parking lot. And I go, thank you. Because I practice receptivity in my body and my cells as a practice. So I go to her car. Of course, funny enough, there's a dog in the car, which I thought was incredibly funny, Cherie and panel. I start to talk to the dog. I said, is it okay with you? Because your mommy told me I could go in the car. Is it okay with you? And then I go in the car. I see her again, and she says, my dog is wonderful. The dog was the most loving dog. And I go in the car, and I charge my phone. So practicing beyond time as a daily practice breaks the grip of being defended and rushed. Because hurry is the greatest sign of poverty there is on this planet. Hurry is the greatest sign of poverty. So when you're with someone in a listing, there ain't no time gap. And this is what we actually get into. We practice this with each other in Vibrant Speaking. How do we listen to move mountains together? When someone walks in a room and we say hello, imagine receiving the hello. So this whole thing about being nice, I could never quite get it. Every time I was around people that were nice, I never got them. I just always was concerned at some point it would blow up because it's too much pressure. So we play with this. So I just want to say one more time, for you guys who are going to be slow catchers of this notion, which is cool. It took me years to kind of get this. But what you're replacing being nice with is being pleasant, being real, making the kind of contribution that comes from your deep soul. No more niceness. Let's be real. Okay, open it to the panel.
Can I contribute something, Glenn?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, my thinking or feeling about it is that compassion and kindness are a higher, more evolutionary level of nice. You know, nice may be something superficial, but when you're really authentic and you're really living it and you're being it and you're allowing the universe to flow through you and you're part of that greater energy, you're compassionate and you're kind. And actually, when you allow that to flow through you, it comes back to you. It's so beautiful.
I love that. I love that. I love that expression.
And also, I just want to chime in real quick. Also, it's so important to teach the children of today the direct eye contact. Direct eye contact is being lost because of technology, and everybody is on their phones and looking down, and whether it's the phones or the laptops. So it's so important because, I mean, just by making eye contact and smiling at people, they're so receptive because it's not happening as much as it was before. You know, I mean, like I have it, just making that eye contact with someone and giving them a smile, it can brighten up somebody's day because they're being noticed.
It's contagious, isn't it?
Yes. Smiles are contagious. For sure.
Cherie, let's hear from Lisa too. And also the whole screen thing. I love that, Cherie. I love that you said I teach relational gazing. It's also not good for your eyes. So let's continue with Vibrant Living and you guys in a moment. You like it? Enjoy it.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Conflict comes in many forms and often triggers a fight-or-flight response. Some of us gravitate toward conflict, while many will stop at little to nothing to avoid it. Unfortunately, what we resist will persist, which often forces us to face our fear and deal with it head-on. Join me during my show, Conflict Rising, as I discuss the important role of conflict with leaders who have moved through it successfully. Tune in Thursdays at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
I'm Glenn Brooks. Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. And I was saying in the last segment, and thank you so much, Dr. Randall. Thank you. Love that, Cherie. We got to come back to that point. That's about the screens and about, the whole idea of seeing, seeing this is such a vibrant seeing. The series we're doing on the eyes is so encompasses what you're saying, and we're going to do a whole lot of stuff on the eyes. So I'm going to share something with you on the next show with someone who I mentioned in the last segment that we had a powerful relationship. We're actually back in relationship, and I want to talk about opening up a relationship that you thought would never open up again. Dave Rappner from Dave's Pet City is with us. Cherie, welcome to Vibrant Dogs.
Thank you.
By the way, just before I came here, I met someone who was a shopper at your store, and I was just telling Cherie that part of how Vibrant Dogs started was, about 21 years ago, and part of this was your store, Dave, in Hadley, is that when I would go to Whole Foods and I found interesting dogs in the parking lot or interesting couples, if you will, I would have dialogues with people. And as a matter of fact, I was just telling Cherie I met a Leon Burger at the store. I met all these people. And so I think what Vibrant Dogs is about building community and appreciating how dogs impact our brain, our emotions, if you will, our soul, and have this certain invisible medicine they give us. And through the years, because I've done so many shows on nutrition and well-being, what I loved about your story is a lot of people will come in and ask questions, and I always felt you were this store that kind of responded to the community. That's how I experienced you. I experienced you to be a resource to the community, and now I know you got a dog food that goes across the country. Well, I want to welcome you to Vibrant Dogs.
Thank you, and I'll give you 45 minutes to stop saying all these nice things.
Really? I gave up being nice, though, so I don't know what to do now. I'm kind of like empty now. I used to be. I tell people I'm not nice. It always gets them. Well, first of all, I want to welcome Cherie, Dave, because Cherie was doing something that I respected. She was working with dogs without suppressing them, overtraining them, but really appreciating that dogs inherently have this wonder. And when I read this book, it was called Crazy Dogs, Crazy People. I was like, wow. I kind of realized that a lot of what was happening in the dog training world was problematic, because it is. And I wanted to work with someone with a different vision of helping people become happy and alive in a new way. And nutrition is part of the conversation. Cherie, why don't you step in as the dog mystic and forthcoming author of being in deep tune with your dog?
Well, thank you. And Dave, welcome. So my pretty much my goal is just to help bring peace to the home. Happy dogs equal happy owners. And I absolutely love what I do. I feel totally grateful that people open up their homes to me and allow me to come over and get to know the whole entire family. And I've had so many amazing experiences. I've been training for 19 years altogether, and the most important thing is, even after the dog is trained, if you practice just a little bit per day, it's the mental stimulation that calms the dog down. So practice makes perfect. That's first. And just dogs are so in tune. They have like a hypersensitivity, and they do absorb the tension and anxiety that from people. If we take 3 to 5 minutes every single day just to hug our dogs or hug our dogs, sit down on the floor and let them lick you and just really be in tune and breathing, it will calm you down. It will lessen the anxiety. I mean, just take a moment after a crazy day, or in the middle of the day, or in the morning before your crazy day starts, and just sit there and stroke your dog and, give your dog a massage and breathe deeply. And, you can go into a meditative state with your dog and get your dog into that same calmness, because they have that sixth sense. They know exactly what's going on. So they feel your energy. They feel your energy no matter what. And they're here to love and be loved.
Cherie's going to be in our area in Western Massachusetts to teach being in deep tune with your dog. and we're setting up dates. And by the way, I came here just before I came here, Dave, to the studio. I met a woman who shops at Dave's Pet City, and she had an incredible husky. Yeah. And I like the husky so much, I asked her to, I have a national team of advisors and contributors. And she said this, I was going to ask you. She goes, oh, yeah, Dave's quite a character. And so I wanted to ask you what she meant by that.
I have no idea.
I thought that too. You seemed like such a straightforward, kind of calm guy. I wanted to feel the other side of you. You're great. Yeah.
I'm in the, I have the greatest job in the world. So, yeah. I don't know if I've had a TV show for the last 25 years on Fox, and my Sunday morning show, and I get to goof around and be goofy, because what I'm dealing with is, as Cherie just said, is I'm dealing with love, right? And I don't care if it's a dog or a cat or a snake or a bird or whatever. I'm dealing with people's pets who, we all know this, who really love their pets more than their significant other, and it's true, right? So I have
a concern.
Yeah, well, so I have the greatest job in the world, and I get to be goofy and do all that stuff. And here's the best part, is I have people who don't know me, they have no clue who I am, and they trust me with the health of the creature that they love more than anything in the world. How cool of a job is that?
It's pretty dang cool.
Right.
It's pretty. By the way, Dave, I want to introduce you to Lisa LaRose. She's rescued tons of dogs. She's with us. I told her in the last segment we'd go to her. Lisa, just say something, because you're in the spirit of this. And by the way, if my equipment fails, Lisa, you'll need to step in today, because my equipment is not showing me that I'm getting a strong charge at the studio now. But Lisa, step in and say something, because in the spirit of what you just said, Dave, Lisa's totally devoted to dogs. Lisa, welcome. My executive producer, Lisa.
Thank you. Yeah, and Dave, thank you for what you do, and Cherie, the same thing, and Gail with humans. I completely agree with both of you. That sometimes the best way to communicate with a human is through their dog or their cat. That there's something special when you look into an animal's eyes. They look at you with an understanding and a compassion. And, it's interesting. I have to disagree a little bit about the nice thing, because I tell my dogs to be gentle and to be nice all the time. I don't know that they intuitively maybe understand compassion, but nice.
Them are nonverbal, that's fine.
Yeah, a nice short toddler word in the spirit of the dog mystic. So they tend to understand nice. And this morning, I'm caring for a friend of mine's Italian greyhound, a little miniature Italian greyhound. She's so sweet, Coco. And she must have been feeling the dog mystic, because she's normally quite calm, and then she just started talking in the other room, Cherie, so I figured I'd let you know that as well. Yes, so they chime in, like they chime in and let us know that everybody's present and in the room. But so Dave, the show that you do, so what types of things do you get to do to goof around with these animals in a fun place?
Well, so here's what happens, and Glenn, I think I told you that 5 months ago I sold 5 of my 6 stores, and the only heartbreaking thing about selling it is the new owners did not want to continue with the show.
What a bummer!
And it's too expensive to do just for owning one store. But what we used to do is, the rule was, it was completely unscripted, and I would have different manufacturers come in, or if I saw you standing in the store and you were with your dog, I would lasso you to come on the show with me, and we would talk about, where you got the dog, how did you train it. And some weeks I'd have trainers on the show. Some weeks I'd have, people how to put in your garden pond, whatever. And this is how scripted it is. The Fox would show up, on Thursdays at 10 o'clock, and I'd be at my desk and go, oh, God, I forgot we were taping this week. And that was every single week. So customers would walk through the camera. They, and we had no idea. Nothing was scripted. There were no double takes. There was no editing. There was nothing.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I totally love it.
It was perfect.
That's even better. Totally.
Yep. Yep. And we even beat for a while there. We were on at Saturday nights at 11:30. We beat Saturday Night Live in the ratings.
Congratulations!
Wow.
Congratulations!
Are you guys impressed yet?
Well, I think a little bit right now. That was the last line helped actually, Dave. The last line. So Lisa, you're going to be on standby today. I want to let people know you're listening to the Vibrant Living Network, ear to ear internationally, and we have one of the pioneers in heart health coming up, Dr. Dave DeRose. Dr. Dave DeRose at 2:00. Dr. Gail Randall will make comments about how do you dispel the fear of the danger that the diagnosis brings you. Or as Bruce Wilson said to me from the Heart Math Institute, he says a lot of people die when he goes on. He takes off because the cardiologist basically killed him over the phone. Pretty strong thing to say. What we say and how we speak to people is powerful medicine. We're going to get into that at 2:00 with Dr. David DeRose, author of Lowering Your Blood Pressure Without Pressure, and then we're going to have Dr. Elaine. She's not a doctor. I gave her a doctor, but she's Elaine Gifty. She's one of our speakers here at Vibrant Speaking. And she talks about when the doctor said that she wouldn't live to see her grandchildren 7 years ago. She's actually 72 years young, and she'll talk about how her life changed since giving the talk at Unscripted Power, which was called "I Don't Know What I Don't Know." This is upcoming. And if I'm not here, Lisa will step in. She'll step in. She's amazing. So, Dave, I love your story and the whole vibe, if you will, of Dave Pet City. Was kind of a very grassroots thing. I mean, you were next to, I don't know, I said to people, you've been around 19 years. How long has it been around?
44 years.
Oh, come on. I sold you out there. Okay, 44 years you've been doing this.
So here's what happened. I opened up, since you know the area, I opened up a store in 1975, right after I got out of college, on Route 9 in the gas station in front of the Stop and Shop.
Okay.
You know where that is now? It used to be I do. It used to be an Arco station. Remember the name Arco?
No.
Because you're too young. So Arco was one of the gas companies.
I'm younger than Lisa.
So I rented a three bay car wash for $300 a month, and I was selling all different kinds of cases of soda out of the empty bays. And I was just out of college, and it just sort of dawned on me that I needed help meeting women, so I bought a puppy.
Wow.
Which works.
Then your show Puppies and Women was a hit as well.
Puppies is the best chick magnet in the history of the world.
Yeah.
So I walked into Stop and Shop to buy dog food for Bentley Beagle, and I noticed they had more pet food in there than they did soda. I went back to my little office, which was the toilet in the gas station, and I called Nine Lives in Purina, and I went into the pet food business, and that's how the whole thing started.
Wow.
So that was 1975.
Yeah. I got to admit, I couldn't put a time marker because it seems like you've been around forever. I just thought, because I remember going there 20 years ago, but I thought, when did it start? So 40 years ago it started.
44 years ago. Yep.
Amazing.
Yep. And then, so the cool part is, this is how the business developed. The cool part is, life is about trust. So the way I ran my business is my customers trusted me. And whenever I told my customers to buy.
They still do, Dave, actually.
They do. Thank you. That's the best compliment in the world. Yeah. Whatever I told my customers to buy, they bought. So we started getting some private labels, some formulas that I wanted, and we started having those made. And the problem was I couldn't meet the minimum production levels. So I said, well, maybe if I start wholesaling, then I can meet the minimum order quantities. And that's how Dave's Pet Food got started. Because I knew what we needed. I knew the price point we needed to be at because I was a retailer. And that's how so today we're in all 48 states. We have about 60 different SKUs of mostly canned food. And it's, very cool to be in California and see Dave's pet food on a shelf in independent pet stores. It's very cool.
Now, that's a beautiful story. What are you curious about from the dog mystic's point of view, from her Don't overtrain the dog. She is intuitive yet practical ways. What are you curious about? You've been around a ton of dogs. I know you have 2 shepherds.
Yep.
Just from the forthcoming book is called The Dog Mystic, Being in Deep Tune with Your Dog. What are a couple of the questions from the guy who understood from the universe that puppies are the way to meet women? Just give me a question or two for Cherie.
You know, this is what I don't understand and what we need help doing. And I see this all the time.
Right.
We need help getting people to understand what a commitment it is to get a dog or a cat or a bird. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't have to tell you, and so, you know, everyone can hear, the biggest reason dogs end up in shelters is not because they're bad dogs. It's because people don't know how to handle them.
Right. Exactly.
So the challenge is to get people like Cherie to you know, make it so that folks can get their dogs trained, because there is no bad dogs. That's the biggest challenge for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I totally agree.
I was telling Cherie yesterday, Dave. I don't know if you had this experience. So you watch those. There's so many shows now where they show a dog that's abandoned, and it's tragic. The dog has mange. The dog's sick, and these people come and they rescue the dog. And I told Cherie, it's absolutely beautiful to watch how the dog responds after being. People have been so cruel to the dog, but the dog responds like a real human being. It responds as a real dog, and it's just, I don't know. It's so beautiful to watch that because, so crazy people, crazy dogs, and it's a tragic thing, and it's
that's the biggest for me. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah. Well, so Cherie's coming to our area. Cherie, tell people about the seminar that's coming to Northampton. It's coming to the Berkshires. Share people a little bit of what they receive at the Dog Mystic, at being in deep tune with your dog. To get into it, create a little feel for that. And by the way, what Dave just said is so right on. Like, it's tragic that people like this. They're bringing home a toy rather than a live dog that they're going to cultivate and learn and grow with. It's not a toy.
Well, I mean, like, you know, in regards to what Dave said, the main thing is that people think that owning a dog is just as easy as owning a cat. Cats are extremely independent, and you know, you give them love, they give you love back when they're in the mood. If they're not in the mood, then they just walk away, or they bash you and like, all right, well, whatever. They have a cat litter they have a cat litter box to go to the bathroom, or they go outside. So it's much easier to own a cat than a dog. People think that it's just as easy, but a dog's psychology is just like a child's, and you have to. There's just more responsibility that comes into play. They're so emotional, and the first off, the training in there is so important because it's the mental stimulation, but it's not a half a day of training. It's 30 minutes a day, and you split it up into either 10 minutes, 3 10 minutes, or 2 15 minutes, and it's also sometimes when people walk into the Humane Society and they just they fall in love with a specific puppy, but if you do the research about the breed before you actually go and rescue, or if you research certain breeds that you would like to see or that you would like to adopt, and my main thing is, yes, you can purchase a puppy for anywhere from $500 to $3,000, but there's so many amazing dogs that need homes, that are that need that are rescues, and they're absolutely amazing and smart and intelligent, and even if it's a not full breed and it's a mutt, it's a total win-win situation. So adopting is better than buying. That's my main thing. But research the breed before you walk into a rescue or you walk into Humane Society, so because if a very calm family walks into the Humane Society and wants to adopt, let's say a Rat Terrier Jack Russell mix, that dog has extreme high energy levels. So they need lots of exercise, lots of mental stimulation, just like a border collie. If a border collie does not have a job, like they need jobs. So if the family thinks that they can just sit around and have a relaxed dog, then they're both going to get totally frustrated, and that's why they bring them back to the rescue or bring them back to the Humane Society. So research the breed before you just automatically, spontaneously go and adopt a dog.
I want you to share two things, Cherie. When people come to the seminar, share with people two things you're going to get into, so they have something they could begin to experience with the dog that's different and unusual. Like that's the whole thing. How do you be in deep tune with your dog? Two things that you're going to dive into experientially for people when you come here.
Well, it's teaching people all about dog behavior and dog behavior, what to look for. It's not only about a tail wagging. It's about reading their body gestures, and then also teaching them different techniques of what they can do on a daily basis that only takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes of how to do the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And
all right, we're gonna get into more
feeling their love and just giving them love and feeling their love and feeling their relaxation and enjoying that true bond.
Give out your website, Dave, for the Dave Rappner's fans today. How would they be in touch with you to learn more about what you're doing, Dave, about the pet food and everything?
Dave'sPetFood.com.
Dave'sPetFood.com. Dave, we'll be sending you some information about the dates. And by the way, thanks for coming on. And I realized that in retrospect, when I saw you, it was kind of before Whole Foods was in existence. Now your store in Hadley, your store that you own is in Hadley. And anyway, it was fun just seeing someone who was a customer that say he's quite a character and have you address that. I enjoyed that. I enjoy that you're quite a character beyond this very calm persona. Thank you for coming on today very much. We'll be back in touch, and we're excited to bring the dog Mystic to the Valley. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful day.
We got, Lisa, we got David DeRose. He just asked me if he's coming on. The answer is yes. We'll see if he calls in. So my technology's going crazy. We're gonna what I want to be able to do with you, Cherie, is I want to invite people in. We'll do this next week. I want to invite people into some of the exercises because there's so many things you do with dogs and teach people to do that's very different and distinct. And I want to dive into that more with you next week. And we're going to have someone else from the area who works with dogs because I'm welcoming you to this area. I'm building a community for the dog mystic here, which is what I'd love to do with you nationally. So that's what we're going to be doing, building a community and building this conversation, how to really receive the medicinalness and really appreciate. They don't need training as they miss being in deep tune with, right? Maybe they need an education. And what training or overtraining is missing is the level of intelligence, that your dog really is your mirror, as our friend Kevin Behan says. They're mirroring you. So realize they're going to mirror you in a way that feels uncomfortable. And beyond being discomforted, there's a tremendous lesson for you, a tremendous gift. So in a moment, we're talking about David DeRose. On the break, Cherie, I'll give you Dr. David DeRose's direct number. My technology seems to be holding. Now, Cherie, it is good. It is good. I don't know how it's holding beyond what it says. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Network. The website, by the way, is vibrantliving.network.com, vibrantliving.network.com. We are on the road to Carnegie Hall. We're picking 20 people who want to speak at Carnegie Hall over 2 nights, and we're preparing for the next 6 months, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And we're not goal setting, but we're claiming ways we could come to a new level of message and expression in our one-of-a-kind relational dojo, if you will, where we really pay attention. So to be an exemplifier, this kind of exemplifier, you got to pick someone in the room and make sure they're owning the stage at Carnegie Hall. You devote to them, right? It's like that. So in a moment, let me just see, quite interesting. All my technology is not reading out properly, but here we are in life. Oh, Bishan, I want to tell Bishan, I love what's happening at Mind Valley. I'm going to invite Bishan on this format, and we're going to talk about busting the myths that interfere with being a reality bender. So, as a matter of fact, we're going to get into that with Dr. DeRose. We're going to talk about how does this relate to lowering your blood stories. When I was working with Deepak Chopra, it was from Unconditional Life, the book Unconditional Life, and he tells a story in that book about this guy that went to Deaconess Hospital in Boston, and the doctors were very concerned about his kidneys. And this is over a 35-year. It was a long period of time. And what happens is the doctors passed away, 2 or 3 or 4 of them over these 30 years. And one of the things Deepak was talking about was that when you become identified with the limitation, and when you become identified with the imagery of illness and the imagery of like that, you know, you get into the habit of seeing yourself degenerate, that this is a lot of what the medical model is. It has a hypnosis. It has a smell to it. And he was saying this guy went to the hospital and got his test, but yet he didn't go to get treatment. He just thought it would show up. And Deepak was using it as a case history about how do we grow young in a culture that sells us death 24 hours a day. Right? And Dr. Gerald Epstein's new book, it's called We're Not Meant to Die. He talks about how spirituality impacts the cells, and that for a lot of aging is a bad habit. So we're going to get into that on the next segment on how to lower your blood pressure without pressure. We'll get into the language, and I think what I might need to do, Elisa, is get you that number for Dave. I hope he calls in. He sent me a message.
You know what? I do have his number. Maybe I'll check.
Oh, that's amazing.
Just a second. And then
that'd be so. Oh my God, that'd be a blessing. Oh, by the way, Lisa, I think it was you. All my technology is showing that I'm charging again. So thank you.
Ah.
Or maybe it was you, Dr. Randall. Thank you. Thank you.
While we're waiting, I just want to add some information about something that I have. It's pretty recent. It's just the anxiety of all dogs and breeders.
You know what, Cherie, you could share this when we come back. I don't want you speaking over the music. I want you to relax, exhale a couple times. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Network. You can live beyond the thought viruses into an extraordinary life. Stay with us. Your life's precious. Enjoy. I'm Glenn Brooks.
Feed your soul with Waves of Consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
I'm Kathy Williams, host of Sexy Mom Abundant Life radio show on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. On the show, we explore living abundantly in every area of your life. Ways to let go of limiting patterns and beliefs and to step into the flow of creativity and possibility, knowing you are supported by the universe.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks, along with the Vibrant Living Network. Dr. Randall's with us, Dr. Gail Randall, and she's my personal inside doctor. She's a spiritual partner. She's someone that I kind of asked the universe to lead me, to basically connect with. I sent, and for you guys listening at Mind Valley, I sent a signal, if you will, out through the universe. So, like one of the things, we get caught in the known. Beyond the known, I knew I was feeling this connection with Dr. Randall. She showed up in my life. She is the first medical doctor to talk about integrative holistic care. Back 40 years ago, she's with us for this segment. She's with a regular Vibrant Living team member. She'll be with us at Carnegie Hall as we own the stage and we talk about vibrancy as a way of life. We inquire into that, live that. Lisa LaRose, executive producer. She's been with me 18 years. She's our executive producer. Cherie Marquez, we're going to let you speak in a moment. Actually, you can speak now. I don't want to. I could never stop you from speaking, could I? And Janet's already gone. Janet's back at her studio. Janet's going to be teaching. She's co-teaching the course, Pressure Without Pressure. We'll talk about how to step out of the pressure so you could be well rather than having to fight for your health. We're going to get into the whole mentality of effortless well-being and ease and blood fluidity and how to let your blood flow and your cells move. And this is a whole different approach. We're going to get into it in a moment with Dr. Randall and Dr. DeRose. I'm Glenn Brooks for the Vibrant Living Network. Cherie, go ahead. Dog Mystic, speak your truth.
So, unfortunately, I am starting to come across plenty of dogs that have extreme anxiety, and I mean sometimes it was dogs that were older and something happened to them, but there's more and more puppies that have extreme anxiety and separation anxiety or crate anxiety. Just like being extremely anxious when they're in the crate. And the main reason why is they're being taken away from their moms way too young. There's no reason why a puppy, if the mom rejects them and the breeder has to feed them by hand, fine. But to wean them away from the mom and take them away from the mom at 4 to 6 weeks of their lives, there's no reason for it. But
I want to say you contributed a lot the last time when you shared about the over-vaccination syndrome. Let's do this next week. Let's get into this topic. Let's go, because there's a lot to this topic, and I think you're raising a significant awareness point that a lot of people take for granted. So let's dive into it on the next segment of Vibrant Dogs next week, and then I want to get into your seminar coming here, and we'll tell people some dates, and we'll have another person from this area that I'm going to introduce you to about our dog mystic, being in deep tune with your dog. And part of being in tune is to realize that how they're treated. So you're bringing such a significant topic.
And I just want to end it on it's about how they're treated, but it's also about learning from their pack. It's learning from their mother, and it's learning from the other dogs that are there of exactly what to do, because it either causes anxiety or it causes more aggression and defiance with puppies.
Right. So I love it.
Don't buy a dog at 6 weeks. It's way too young.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So Lisa, you're back on, Lisa? You're welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
And,
okay.
I believe David is in the room, as is Dr.
David is lighting up a cigar as we speak, I think. David?
Well, it's not this, David. I don't have any cigars, and I don't want to raise my blood pressure.
Okay, good. I like that response. Dr. David DeRose, I had the chance to have what I call a deep, vibrant dive. I had a conversation with David, and whether it's the Methuselah effect or lowering your blood pressure without pressure, what I love about David is he's not mechanistically trying to fix blood pressure. What he's looking at is kind of the things in our lifestyle, our breathing, our mentality. What is the things that grows us young? Rather than just focusing on one thing, the blood pressure, what is it grows us young? What allows us, as Dr. Ashley Montague said, he said that love heals broken bones. So what is it about who we are and how we interact, the language of our hearts, that allows us to feel this restorative effect? And what Dr. Randall's forthcoming article for OMTimes magazine is dealing with is breaking the terror of the diagnosis. So for a lot of people, when they're diagnosed with high blood pressure, it sets off a series of psychological and psychosomatic fear in their system, what raises their blood pressure. And this is sort of the unspoken conversation. All the cardiologists that have been on Vibrant Living, whether it's Dr. Dean Ornish or the people at the Heart Math Institute, they're all talking about the languaging of illness. When you language something to someone, you set up a fear. And for some reason, except for people like Dr. Max and Dr. Randall, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, he wrote It was all about this. He was a plastic surgeon, and he said when he actually did plastic surgery, it didn't make people feel better. They thought they would feel better. So what we're looking at is this inner life. I love where you come from, Dr. David Thoreau, and I know you don't smoke a cigar. Just playing with you there. So
sure, I knew that.
Let's talk about what truly impacts the whole person, rather than just the problem. Because we know from Einstein we can't solve a problem at the level of the problem. Share with us, and we'll have Dr. Randall address this with you. So I see as a big concern is that the mechanistic way we handle things gets people frightened and anxious about the condition itself and the languaging of the condition. And that's where I love where you're coming from. And you're a Vibrant Living team member, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Glenn. I mean, you're so right on track with this. And the part of the problem is we've basically medicalized pretty much everything about our physiology. And people are taking all these measurements, they're doing blood work, they're slapping what we call it a sphygmomanometer, the device that measures our blood pressure, on the arm, and then we tell people, you're not well, and they may have walked into the office feeling quite fine. And you're exactly right. We're often undermining the underpinnings of health, and some of this we address, of course, in the 30 Days to Natural Blood Pressure, but we also deal with it in the Methuselah Factor, because that book looks more broadly at the microcirculation. And one of the things that impacts both these things is stress. And we add to that load of stress, when we add to that sense of disconnection, when we're not part of the people around us, so we start undermining the foundations of health. And I think you've really laid the foundation for really understanding this. And that's what we're trying to help people realize, that this is a big picture issue. If you've got a blood pressure diagnosis, the focus is not on blood pressure. It's looking at the whole lifestyle. What can you do to kind of reconnect with putting yourself in the driver's seat as far as your health and your well-being?
Dr. Randall, your comments, and also with your forthcoming article and what I'll call releasing yourself from the danger of diagnostic trauma, invasive spell casting. In the old days, they would call it a spell. That a spell, someone says something to you, and all of a sudden you skip down the street, and all of a sudden you're concerned about your feet. Let's talk about this in terms of total healing. The moment you see the physician who's supposed to be your educator and hero, like you are with me, Dr. Randall, share with people. I so love where Dr. Rose is coming from. Share with us what is going to be in your forthcoming article about the danger of diagnostics and the invasiveness, the disrespect. It is a lot of that stuff. It's a mechanistic system, not always, but it can be. And a lot of people are left wounded. Share, Dr. Randall.
Yeah, I don't think it's intentionally damaging, but it is damaging. I mean, Western medicine's model is an illness model. And when we move more into an integrative model that considers body, mind, spirit, and emotions, it's entirely different. It opens it up to, that there's a solution for every problem, where Western medicine says you have this. You have high blood pressure. You have cancer. You have this, and it becomes like a spell. It becomes a spell, or you become defined by that diagnosis. And I feel that one of my goals, my claims, I guess, that I do for my patients is to be able to help remove that for them. I mean, Viktor Frankl described this. He was a Nazi war concentration camp survivor, and he wrote in his book, about this. He described people that had hope, and they continued to have a sense of purpose, and they would live despite all odds, despite starving to death, despite torture, everything, they would stay alive. But as soon as someone would lose that hope, which can only be described as spirit or the effect of godliness or whatever you want to call it, whatever works for you, they would die within minutes or hours as soon as they lost that hope. And even Yogananda talks about the fear that drives the illness further into it if we don't address it. People come to me with that fear. I can see it. I can see it in their bodies when they walk in the door. I can see it in their eyes when they look at me all shiny, and they try to say everything as fast as they can because they think I'm going to write them a prescription and send them out the door, like everybody else does. And that's not how it is. And if you open yourself up and just listen like you said, vibrant listening is part of vibrant being. They begin to feel safe right away. Yeah. And when you listen and you really hear not just what they're saying, but what they're feeling, what's in between the lines, and then you share with them that there is that hope, that they don't have to believe that diagnosis defines them, that there is an option, and that you'll be there for them, and that love is really the answer, which is the glue, the whole universe together. Everything changes. It's like it's almost magical, but it's not. It's an energy that is accessible to all of us if we can just tap into it. And then through that love and through that being there for that person and telling them that there are options, that there's a solution to every problem, it not only changes the energy for them in their perspective, their thinking, it changes energetically in their bodies. And I've seen this over and over and over and over again in the 40 years I've done it. People get better from things they shouldn't. My own mother cured from cancer. And the lady I write about in the OMTimes Radio magazine had a terrible cancer right next to her heart, which we found out 2 years later, which it certainly would have overcome her by then, was essentially gone, or at least a whole lot smaller. In other words, everything is working for her. The energy it's happening. So, anything is possible.
I'm probably going into my 96th day, Dr. David DeRose, the Methuselah factor. I wish we got the Methuselah factor in junior high school, because right now people need to grow younger. My teacher said to me when he was in his early 90s, he said, "Glenn, don't get into the habit of aging. It's a bad habit." He goes, "Keep growing young." So I love to say that you look at the physiology of using as a way of life rather than aging, because aging for a lot of people is degeneration, rather than really what's happening. And I think Dr. Gail just hit upon it so beautiful. Thank you. Is that aging, the myth of aging, the belief system around aging, is a degenerative model. Whereas, as Dr. Gail said so beautifully, that in Viktor Frankl is kind of saying that you're being in touch with your heart, being in touch with the infinite, being in touch with our oneness, and if you will, walking beyond separation and knowing that we have this essence in us that's in other people changes the whole game. And that's what your newest book, David, and I'm so happy you're here today, gets into these lifestyle factors. And I realized I was conditioned that way. I don't know about you guys. How I was conditioned from my mother was the pediatrician was like God. So when I got my prescription for my poison ivy, or whatever it was sort of like then we could go on with our lives. So the diagnostic thing was sort of huge. I had this guy on my show, Lisa. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember the Left for Dead guy? Is he called himself? Do you remember that guy, Lisa? I'm forgetting his name.
I know who you're speaking about.
Yeah, Quinn. I think was it Quinn?
Yeah.
He checked out of the hospital because they said he was going to die, and he said, "Well, since I'm going to die, I don't want to be at the hospital anymore because the hospital ain't no fun."
Very good.
So he got really into cayenne pepper, and I thought to myself, well, maybe it's the cayenne pepper, but he kind of gave himself a new lease on life. Because I kind of feel, this medicinal thing, like. I met one of the greatest sports psychologist coaches, and he said to me, I said to him, what would influence an athlete more than anything else? What would change their life more than anything else? And he says, Glenn, it's really simple. And he goes, the athletes, the highest performers need to give up saying, I have to. I have to win. I have to do this. I have to train. He says, when they give that up, their subconscious, their being changes, their mobility changes. What's the 2 or 3 things from the Methuselah factor and from 30 days to lower your blood pressure? What are some life givers that you want to leave for people today? And then I want to ask you about some devices such as the Zona that people are using as an alternative to blood pressure medication. What are the life-giving things that you want to share from your wonderful book and the first book that you feel are going to be like this coach said to me, you need to give up. If you really want to perform, I have to. Just put that out, put it in the garbage bag.
No, this is tremendous, the whole dialogue, because one of the things that we tackle in the Methuselah factor is this whole dimension of stress. And probably one of the most revolutionary chapters in the book is called Harness Some Stressors. Let me put it this way, Glenn. Every one of us, we can identify with certain things. If I say, think of something stressful, stuff pops into our minds. The problem is we don't realize that there's a fine line between what we would call something that we label as stressful and something that we would label as a challenge. In other words, instead of looking at a diagnosis, we've been going down that route, let's say a high blood pressure. Instead of looking at that as a stressor, now I've got to be worried about my blood pressure, what we're telling people to do is look at it as a challenge. In other words, what is this challenging you to do differently? How is it causing you in a positive way to refocus on your health? How can you take a deadline that's causing you to be afraid and change it into a challenge that helps you accomplish more? So we actually give people some strategies for doing that in the Methuselah factor. But the biggest strategy is really just recognizing that we have the ability on a conscious level to take something that's paralyzing us and saying, how can I turn that around? How can I basically look at this as something that will motivate me to do better at the things I should be doing? I already know that. And again, I know we're putting those shoulds in there, and I'm totally 100% with you. We've had this dialogue, but the problem is we have that self-talk, and even though we tell people, get rid of those musts, get rid of those shoulds, people have that in their minds. I say the way you deal with those things is you do them. Don't say I should be eating better. Start eating better, okay? Don't say I should be exercising. What are you going to do today to exercise? And that's why I'm saying, look at this challenge, the blood pressure. Instead of getting you down, hey, I just read 30 Days to Natural Blood Pressure Control, DeRosa's book. It said exercise is powerful at lowering my blood pressure. Hey, I've been wanting to exercise for years. I've not done it. Now I've got a blood pressure diagnosis. This is the motivation now for me to get on that exercise program I've been wanting on. This is a plus for me to have seen the doctor.
No, I just love it.
You see how that works, right?
Yeah. It's kind of the essence of the Vibrant Living Challenge. Is to see the blessing of the goodness of challenges as a gift, as an opening, as something to raise, to be more alive than you ever have. I want to thank Dr. Gail Randall deeply. You know, I think this is going to be our 95th day of doing ceremony every day. But I would say, David, working with Gail so closely, she, like an architect, she got into my consciousness and my mind, and she plucked out some significant thought viruses at a certain point. And it's kind of amazing because working at that level of closeness with someone I love and treasure allowed me to kind of go beyond some things that I didn't see how these thought viruses were impacting. And this is a big part of the Vibrant Living Challenge, which I want you to be a part of, is that it's the consistency of going beyond the normal, in a sense, to go beyond the normal. Because, you know, like I just see it. There's kind of if you will, a deathist culture. And I think what you present in the books, and along with Dr. Randall, you guys got to read this article. It's going to be great. In OMTimes magazine, that how to get past the diagnosis. I just think it's a life culture. I mean, your whole thing is just it's really about letting life come into your life. You know, it's one of the things that, oh God, what's our 101-year-old young woman who started sustainable medicine, living medicine?
Gladys
Dr. Gail, what's her name? Gladys McGarry said, she goes, you got to focus on your big life, not your health.
Right.
I mean,
right.
you got to focus on your big life first.
Not get paralyzed by a set of words. You know,
yes.
Words that can paralyze a person. And like David said, let that be your challenge. Okay, so what's the other side of that? A lot of times I'll say, look through the other end of the binoculars and see there. What's the gift there? How can we follow the energy in a positive way? It can change everything.
Yeah, I mean, great stuff.
Hey, I want to ask you, David, because I said to you that I was going to have a meeting with Dr. Gail with Zona Health. I want to ask. So Zona is a product that you use at your home. I guess you could travel with it, and you squeeze. I guess it's a computerized device that you squeeze, kind of like I would call it almost like a progressive muscle relaxation. It's where you squeeze and you release. And what happens, according to the literature, is it not just lowers your blood pressure, but it also apparently does something of widening the arteries. It sort of gives the system a different way of functioning and flowing and opening. And you told me you really liked that device. Would you share with us about Zona and some of the other things out there that you're impressed with? Or what's your take on and same thing, Dr. Randall, be curious about things that you feel absolutely work. So you're mentioning exercise. That works. I think touching
what David shared with us the other day,
yes.
Tell me if I'm wrong, it coffee stimulates your autonomic nervous system and then also increases your microcirculation, right? So
yeah,
it would decrease
that's
the afterload and lower the blood pressure in that way.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. So we've looked at the research, Glenn, on, we actually wrote a chapter in the Methuselah Factor book that we called Get a Grip. And it's speaking about the overlooked secret exercise that you can do while you're listening to the radio. People can be listening to this show. They can be, using the grip strength devices. Zona, you put it on my screen, Glenn. I've actually not seen the device, but everything I've looked at, it's really tapping into this science because, as Gail mentioned, this seems to have some amazing effects. I mean, and it's not difficult. You're not doing an exercise that's deliberately fatiguing your muscles or stressing your muscles. I mean, it's only 30% of a maximal contraction, and you can do these exercise sessions in roughly 8 or 10 minutes. And in the research models, impressive blood pressure lowering effects, and presumably, like Gail mentioned, it's having this impact on the microcirculation, improving blood fluidity, and other research is looking at some similar effects of resistance exercises using other muscle groups. So I'm definitely impressed with this data, and that's a big admission from me, Glenn, because for years I've kind of fallen into that mindset of aerobic exercise. I mean, that's the king.
Yeah.
You got to be moving those big muscle groups, but a lot of people can't do it.
Right.
Right.
No, this is, there's such integrity in this inquiry. There's a bit. I did the stress reduction program with John Kabat-Zinn, and when I walked in that room, it was miraculous. There was I remember there was a mailman in there that had chronic ringing in his ears. There was a woman that need to get one of her toes removed, and everyone said they didn't have time for this course. Everyone, they were all too busy. And on the fourth week, people said they couldn't imagine not devoting this practice that's transformed their experience of time, their experience of their bodies, and allowing love in their life. One of the big questions I ask people as a coach, do you have someone at 3 a.m. that you could call that will welcome your call? I want to ask you about relationships, David and Dr. Gail. By the way, Dr. David, when you spoke, I was just kind of getting into the groove with Dr. Gail, and the conversation we first had, I felt you as a researcher, but I felt you as such a compassionate man that really cared that if people began to practice this medicine, this medicinal way of life, it would transform their lives. And it moved me in spirit when I spoke to you a lot. I still remember where I was and what that day was like. So I deeply feel that and appreciate you at a very deep level. So what are some other – well, by the way, what's your comment about when I say to people they need someone they could call at 3 a.m. who won't just take their call? When I called this guy Max Green, he said, Glenn, anytime you're challenged, when it was 3 a.m, I called him 3 a.m, and he says, Glenn, he goes, first of all, he goes, thank you for taking me up. He goes, I'm so grateful you took me up on this. And I realized that transformed my life that night.
No, it's great. It's a beautiful story. And social connectedness is amazing as far as its benefits. When some 3 years ago we wrote the book 30 Days to Natural Blood Pressure Control, we laid out a mnemonic for natural strategies for high blood pressure. We call it the no pressure solution. So N stood for nutrition, O for optimal choice of beverages, et cetera, et cetera. And you get down in that mnemonic to social connectedness. And when we wrote the book, we said we can't have social connectedness come up so late in the mnemonic as far as the chapters, because we were outlining chapters based on that mnemonic. So we pushed the social connectedness up toward the top of the list because we said if people are going to have success with these natural lifestyle blood pressure approaches, they need to be connecting with other people. So early on, and in fact, just incidentally, I was giving a public lecture earlier this week, and I'm there in actually a public library in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We had a group of people, a very nice theater environment there. And I told the folks, I said, if you want to maximize your success in dealing with your health, you need to connect with other people. I said, if you came here tonight, you don't know anybody, before you leave, connect with someone, because here's people that are interested in their health in your own community. And so I told them up front, I said, I do all kinds of stuff on radio, write books, television. I said, I like to come where the people are because here's a group of people that can be a healing community and you don't even realize it. You walked all through the doors together and don't walk out the same way.
I love it. I love it. And a big part of the Vibrant Living Challenge is about staying totally connected and getting past your defensiveness and your blocks, but also being a matchmaker, being a vibrant matchmaker. I got to admit, when I first spoke to Dr. Dean Ornish in 1989, when he published Reversing Heart Disease, and we talked about yoga, he told me, now get this, 20 years later, he still said to me he doesn't know what it really is. Now, 32 years later, he says there is no question there is one thing that trumps everything else, and it's not stress management, it's not yoga, it's not diet. What's the third? It's intimacy. He says intimacy by far is the greatest healer. Give out your website, by the way, David, please.
Yeah, so my website is simply compass, like giving you direction, health.net. And people say, why net? I said, well, because we're out there fishing for the best solutions for your health. So Compass, giving you direction, compasshealth.net, and you can get all our resources there. We got a whole free video series, especially designed for high blood pressure and diabetes, 5 minutes a day for 30 days. You can just log into that, and you don't have to register or anything. Just 5 minutes a day, simple pointers, like the things we've been talking about, connecting with others, getting a grip, all these elements that are in the Methuselah Factor book, and in 30 days to natural blood pressure control. We'll give it to you in bite-sized pieces. People say no one's going to buy the books. Well, of course, the books have a lot more information, and the books are selling very well. But if someone doesn't have the cash or is reluctant to make that expenditure, I say start with the free videos. I mean, no big hurdle there. And like I said, we don't even take your contact information.
David, thank you. By the way, thank you deeply. And we've only just begun. As we put this thing together at Carnegie Hall, it's the passion and the journey to this thing that sometimes is much more relevant. Thank you, and I send you my heartfelt gratitude. I appreciate you a lot. Thank you today. Thank you for today.
Hey,
thank you for being.
Thank you,
David. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Glenn.
Stay with us. Bye-bye. You're very welcome. Stay with us for more Vibrant Living. You're going to meet one of the closest people in my life. She's coming on in a moment. Elaine Gibson, who's told she would die 8 years ago, and that's her grandchildren. And stay with us. Your life's precious. Enjoy it.
The future of Internet radio is here. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Radio Network with all my amazing team members, Dr. Gail Randall, Lisa LaRose, Cherie Marquez, Dr. Gloria Kay.
Hi
and,
there.
Hello, Gloria. I just want to say to you guys that we're expanding our network. I have a educational program to help you assist you guys owning the stage and really basically this show is a lifestyle format. It's way beyond the radio. So I want to invite you guys, if you want to be part of the Vibrant Living Network, we have 16 spots open. I'm going to personally take on 16 people along with Jana Carafa in a way that if you always suspected or had a sense that you could communicate with people way beyond and do it with people on the inside to cultivate and realize that the first step is really vibrant listening. Give me a call at 413-345-3747, 413-345-3747. This segment is called Manifesting or Mastering Miracles. Now, Dr. Gloria, I first met Elaine Gibson probably 3 years ago. But really, the truth was I met her long before that. I had met her in my heart. I had a sense of her way before I spoke to her. So the recognition when I heard her voice and I felt the love and wonder of who she was already there in me. So the first thing we want to do is recognize something so we can see it when it appears, right? By the way, that is a mind valley principle. That's a reality bending principle. Because sometimes, I've been around some of my friends, and I realize there's infinite supply around them, but they don't see it. They live from this belief that it's absolutely scarce, and they respond from their nervous system like that. So I had the honor of inviting Elaine Gibson to come speak at Unscripted Power, which we had people come to nationally, and it was an event that was dedicated to my good friend Michael Russ, and we helped Michael develop his talk that morning. And Michael, being black, was at a Tony Bennett sing contest, and he declared, "I'm going to win this contest. Doesn't matter if I'm black or I'm a rabbit. I'm going to win this because I see it and I feel it and breathe it." When I spoke to Elaine, and she declared to me, "I don't know what I don't know," I thought to myself, a big part of my coaching is really about not knowing, allowing this other place to occur. I loved your talk. It was one of my favorite talks at Unscripted Power. I just love that you're on the show. I want to welcome you. And also, I'm going to do something with you, Elaine. You always give me a yes. Every time I ask you something, you're always like, yes. Could I tweak your message? Yes. Could I make your message more vibrant? Yes. I want to acknowledge you're so receptive, and you live a quality of openness and wonder. We had our conversation the other day, and I felt your youth and as Deepak said to me many times, that people grow old and die because they see other people grow old and die. I see you, and I grow young and aware every time I speak to you. So warmly welcome to Vibrant Living.
Well, thanks for having me. What fun to be here. What an honor to be here with you all.
I want to introduce you to my Dr. Gail Randall, who's been my inside mentor, doctor, and dispel. By the way, Elaine, her article's coming out, which is on dispelling the myth or dispelling the diagnosis, the tragic how to free yourself from the grip of diagnostics, limiting, basically going beyond the mortal boundaries of what some dum says to you. I'm sorry to say it like that, but a lot of people say stuff they have no business saying in medicine. None. It's not in their business. The best thing they can say, it's not within my paradigm to be able to address what's happening at other levels. This is what I know. That doesn't mean you're not going to what you were told is incorrect. It's not educated, and it was, thank God that you saw beyond it, that you able now. So I think it's 7 years now that when the doctor told you that you wouldn't see one of your grandchildren grow up.
Actually, it's hard to believe, but it's longer than that. I just celebrated 10 years of being vibrant. It was 2000 and
I love that.
I'm always vibrant, but being actually it's hard to believe that the time goes so fast, but it was in February 2008 that I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and they said, well, and I said, I'm out of here. I'm saying it very gingerly. But yeah, it's been a long time, and I got to tell you that you talk about getting younger. Although my numbers are getting so up there that the numbers frighten me, but the way I feel doesn't.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, but it's like no one's going to tell me I'm not going to see my grandchildren grow up. You don't tell a Jewish grandmother from New York City that, sorry, if you don't do it this way, you can expect to not see your grandchildren grow up. And I said, well,
or any grandmother for that matter,
Right, exactly. But my story is being a Jewish, my story is being a Jewish princess from New York. But of course, I mean, there's no greater as far as I'm concerned, there's no greater superpower on the planet except that of a grandmother. Yeah,
and both Dr. Randall and Dr. Gloria Kay are both grandmothers, so they get to join me in that esteemed honor of being a grandmother.
I love it. I'm actually looking at doing a book on that, so we'll have to get together.
Sure, love to.
So, Dr. Gloria, so we have a situation here, which I was going to say, I don't love the situation. What I love is, I love the I don't know approach, and I love that Elaine, in her. By the way, this is sort of interesting. I want to comment about this because I also was very close with Dr. Bernie Siegel for about 28 years, and one of the things he said to me a few lessons. So one of the things he says: never call your doctor. Find out their first name and call them that. Don't buy into putting them on the pedestal. And when you go to the hospital, make it as much fun. Like his whole spirit is that it's the beginning of a party. What changed for you? In other words, his whole thing is the opportunity to so-called heal is who you are. How did you take on this mentality? And Gloria, as someone who's been doing healing work 50 years, I want to ask, I love you to respond, Gloria. And then Elaine, I want you to talk about how you change your physiology and mentality and from that boldness. And Gloria, I want to get your comment on what some people might call spontaneous or instantaneous healing. Any comments about that or any insights you've had seeing people heal and let go of things that other people, when they were told a disastrous diagnosis?
Sure. Well, I believe the work that I do affects things cellularly and very rapidly. Just to give you an example, a black and blue mark can change from black and blue to yellow in, anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes. So you actually have evidence of change. Now, in the case of, I'm going to be working with someone who contacted me regarding arthritis. I personally have had a lot of success working with people who have had arthritis. And I like to quote Harry Edwards, who is a well-known healer in England. He said, the heat from a healer is different than thermal heat and disperses the calcium carbonate associated with arthritis. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But for me, it was a wonderful explanation because there are very few people who have arthritis that I'm not able to help. So, you wanted to know my take on how it happened so quickly? I believe.
Well, in other words, I love. A lot of people would love to be the exception to the rule, like Elaine Gibson. They would like to grow younger. They would like to disperse not just a diagnostic. That's why that article coming up with Dr. Gail Randall, guys, it's going to be great. And OMTimes Magazine, November issue, OMTimes Magazine. Janet Karoff is writing an article on the virus, speaking as if your life depends on it, speaking at Carnegie Hall. Janet Karoff, upcoming at OMTimes Magazine. Hey, I just thought you could comment. Someone's listening right now, and they have some diagnosis that's really troubling them, or they feel like they're not going to be able to overcome. What's something, and I want to get this from the inside out from Elaine, but please share with us any tips you have or things that you find powerfully helpful to people.
So is that directed toward Elaine?
You, Dr. Gloria.
Sure, Gloria? Dr. Gloria.
Sure. Well, first of all, there are episodes. So that would be one thing that I would do. I would call it an episode rather than a diagnosis. And even at that, that's pretty strong. So I think it's very helpful
to actually delve into symptoms, what we're dealing with. Now, you might not agree with me, Gail, but anyway, I think that, symptoms can be alleviated once they're defined, rather than...
Of course I agree with symptoms. I'm a doctor. What's
right. I think once you name it and don't attach to the name and give it your own name. Give it your own name.
Yeah.
Right. Give it your
Give us
own
an
name.
give us an example. Give us an example, Dr. Gloria. What does it mean to give it its own name? Give us an example.
Well, for instance, you have a diagnosis of migraines, okay? So for some people, that's the end of the world. No, you might have headaches that are persistent, and you have a willingness to eradicate that situation. So right then and there, you're changing the language. You're changing the language. You don't have the expectation of a migraine. You might have an expectation of a headache that can be remedied. And again, with migraines, I just chose this, I don't know, for whatever reason. But I think there are a number of factors that can be identified, and this is for all kinds of mistakes. A lot of times people will have food sensitivities, and that will exacerbate symptoms. And also, I work with the facets in the skull, and I can do this energetically and remotely. So the more physical balance you have in the skull, the less likely you are to have a headache. So, I talk about my work being very mechanical, and in a sense it is. And part of that mechanical aspect is to change the language and to have a knowingness that things can absolutely change. I mean, from my perspective, there are very few people that I do not help. Of course, there are some that I do not help. It happens very quickly. And again, that sending energy, I don't know if it's a light wave or exactly how it happens, but the remote healing seems to happen more quickly than the hands-on healing. So,
this
is
just
Lisa.
like to
I
add
just would like
something,
to...
if I might.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to acknowledge that a big thank you to Dr. Gloria K. She did a session for my dog Odin, who had been about over a month not responding to the traditional veterinary treatment. And literally within a half an hour, less than a half an hour, his ears have been bent down because of a very bad ear infection. And he's, you could see as the energy was moving remotely from what Dr. Gloria was doing, he was tuning in one ear and then moving the other. And, his eyes became very expressive, the whites of his eyes, which his eyes had sort of been, you could see that he was, in pain from an earache. He became much more expressive. And I'd say, just after that session, he took a nice little snooze, but has been very energetic. I would say for the most part, his ears are still, I think that the energy, he's still tuned into you. And so thank you very much. I know he's appreciative. It was my pleasure to do that. I'm going to
and we'll give out Dr. Gloria. Dr. Gloria, go ahead and give out your website, by the way. How can people reach you if they're interested in your work?
Just my name. I kept it simple. Dr. Gloria, KAYE.com.
Elaine, when you listen to this, so you said over 10 years ago that you got this. They call it in the tradition I study. They kind of call it a false claim. A false claim is when someone claims something about you that's not real, or they also call it malpractice. Matter of fact, my beloved teacher, I love Norm Shirley so much. He wrote one of the best articles on the psychic dangers of working with medical intuitives. And one of his examples is that a woman who actually diagnosed Norm with having leukemia, to which he responded he went to the hospital, and he doesn't. So this whole field is an invisible field about claims and malpractice where people say things about you. So this doctor said to you that you wouldn't make it. You said, I don't know what I don't know. Share, and also your comments on anything that Dr. Gloria said or Dr. Randall or Lisa. And, by the way, I got a quick circle back. I'm just going to do one thing, Elaine, because it's burning in my heart. underlying 80% of illness is heartbreak. So, Cherie, when you made that comment about dogs being separated from their mothers, it's the same great ignorance in this system that people don't get in this culture what birth is. It's profound, it's ignorant, and it leads to heartbreak and separation, which we're going to do some shows on that's going to stretch your mind and touch your hearts. Elaine, share with us right now, what's your response to what is shared, but also how did you change your spiritual inner connection? In other words, how did you shapeshift yourself through this experience where it took this initial step of courage? The doctor tells you you're not going to see your grandchild. Share with us the wonder of not knowing is so beautiful and wonderful. So that was your first medicine, let's say. What evolved in your inner medicine and your relationship with your wonderful husband? Share with us a little of that journey.
Well, first I have to share with you all that I'm sitting in my new office. My husband and I just moved to the Shenandoah Valley in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. So we're in this incredible vibration here all the time. And I'm sitting in my office and I'm like stunned because for the first time, a butterfly, which I always believe is my mother and father, by the way. I have an incredible connection with butterflies. That's how they come to me. As you all were talking, this butterfly flew into the ceiling of our porch outside of my window and just sat there. I'm like going, I'm like, I've stopped being surprised. I'm not surprised. I just say hi. Yeah, I just had to share that because that to me is as much a sign as, that's how I get my signs. But I just came home and I don't, it's interesting. People say to me, well, how did you do this? And I went, I don't know. I know now that whatever one would call their spirit, to me, I look that it was my father. But I came home and I fell to my knees and I said my parents had just died a few years before. And I said, I fell to my knees in my house and I said, I looked up, and I'm not somebody that practices religion. I mean, my husband and I light Sabbath candles probably twice a month. I'm toying with the idea of being bat mitzvahed, but what I'm setting up is that I'm not a religious, very spiritual, but not religious. So I fell to my knees, and I'm all alone, and I looked up and I said, okay, God, I know I'm not going to die. This is not what you have planned for my children. They just lost their grandparents the last, several years. So just tell me what you want me to learn. Just tell me what you want me to learn. And that's how it all began. Well, I know it began before that, and I never became somebody who was ill. First of all, you don't really feel sick. So I never attached to it, but I got into the concept that I would study what's the foundation of health. Just give me some things to do. Let me know. So, I went on my journey and everything that I could find about health, and I never went to cancer support groups. That wasn't the support that I wanted. I knew traditional protocols wasn't for me. So I did, several things. But once I found Dr. Otto Warburg, and I got the understanding about the connection between oxygen and cancer, and cancer being an anaerobic cell, and it cannot live in the presence of oxygen. For me, that was all I needed, because then I had the science. Now, I'm a choreographer. I've actually got a graduate degree in dance. So for me to turn to flip in the scientific world is just really interesting. But once I found that, you know, it's like, well, okay, if you're telling me that, how do I get oxygen in my body? How do I get my cells to be oxygenated? And that's really where it all grew from. But, you know, it's interesting because I did go out of the country for treatment, and I was looking for low dose chemotherapy, and I found in a sense, this is that bridge between the way our society looks and others in the world. And there was a blood test to see which chemo agents would be right for me. And they were not what I would have been given. So it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Interesting. But the other thing was that I had a gene out of whack. And since then, I have started to study, you know, some of the brain and epigenetics and all that. And it turns out that for about $40 a month, I don't know, maybe it's $40 for 3 months, I take a compound that alleviated that. And here, and on the internet, it said that 89% of people with blood cancer have this gene out of whack. And I'm like, why don't we know that? So that, you know, that's a whole other conversation. But so I just really felt that, again, I'm not, you know, I'm not someone that can really explain it, but I've always been very connected. And I was just led on this one thing at a time, and the first thing I found was ionized water, and that somebody told me about, and that really set things in the right way. And then I did my food better, but I was still. So here's what happened. I went into game mode. I'm an athlete, you know, game mode. Get me in the gym, figure it out.
Right.
And I became so focused that it's probably the only time in my life I've ever been focused like this. I mean, I'm all over the place. If I've got a master's degree in dance, I'm all over the place unless I'm choreographing, and this was like choreographing or getting in the gym, and from there, and then I found raw foods, and once I found raw foods, I lost my fear. And that was a big deal. And then, you know, you just get stronger, and then this veil lifts, and you're in another place because you can receive more when there's no toxicity in your body. So that got me on a whole spiritual path. And, you know, I mean, it's a journey, but I think that our body whispers to us all the time, and this is why even at 74, I'm working around the clock to bring what I do to the world, and mostly women over 45 is who I work with. But I don't know. I looked up. I said, I just did not believe that I was going to be taken away from my children. That never occurred to me. Never for a second occurred to me that I was going to die, and that maybe I was so naive. It's like, Elaine, what planet are you living on? This is really bad. It never occurred to me.
By the way, so I want to say to Vishen, my brother Vishen at Mountain Valley. So the reality bending was that Gail, Lisa, Cherie, that you really, and Dr. Gloria, you really questioned the whole reality and how it was presented. It was a 3D reality. It was impositional, and you just, in some sense, you actually made a beautiful transition. You transitioned from the tree of knowledge to the tree of life, where you let a new wisdom fill your heart, soul, and body. And in a sense, your detoxification was the false notions. You know, in the Kabbalah, it says that homicide is not killing someone. It's actually killing their reputation. So in some sense, when you tell someone they have a disease, in some sense, you begin to kill them by the imagery. So you opened, and you could say spirit or life energy, the divine filled you in a way, and in a sense gave you another level of life that you didn't discover or experience before.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot of ways up the mountain, and we've all found different ways up there. And I love your journey, Elaine. It's so beautiful, and I acknowledge you and congratulate you. And I just love what you're doing. I just truly believe that. I have to say, Glenn, we can't knock Western medicine really, because Western medicine provides the diagnosis. And it's not the diagnosis that's bad. It's not the diagnosis that's bad. We have to have a way to categorize things.
Yes.
Because I'm an integrative doctor, and so that.
Dr. Randall, I love you, but I unfortunately, during this time sequence, I know we want to go more.
You have to listen to this. The diagnosis is the opportunity, is the pathway up the mountain.
I want to thank Elaine Gibson. I love you, Elaine. Love you, Dr. Gail Randall. Love you, Lisa, Cherie, Dr. Gloria. Thank you for helping me so many people at the beginning of life. And for drgloriak.com, drgloriak.com. We're on the road to Carnegie Hall. Live your message. Live your full spirit in relationship. Your life's precious. Enjoy it. I'm Glenn Brooks. Thank you all. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.